The woman in the reflective orange sash was blocking the subdivision gate with a folding card table and what looked like a radar gun for neighborhood watch duty. She called out in a sing-gong voice that made my teeth hurt. "IDs, please." But the moment I flipped open my wallet and let the sunlight catch those 3 letters on my credentials, everything changed. She squinted at the badge. Then her face went from confused to purple in about 2 seconds flat. Her voice jumped 3 octaves as she screamed that I was a spy with fake identification and that somebody needed to get zip ties immediately. The pool mom, standing nearby, gasped like they were watching a soap opera cliffhanger. The landscaper, working on the median, stopped his leaf blower and made the sign of the cross. And Trisha Mallory, the HOA president of Hawthorne Crest, started live streaming my face on her phone while simultaneously dialing 911 and a number she had saved as Homeland Security General Inquiries. "My name is Marcus Vale, and I bought a quiet 2-story house in Hawthorne Crest, over in the Riverside Valley suburbs, specifically for the good schools and the walking trails, and the promise that nobody would know my business or bother me about it. I keep to myself in the way that makes suburban life actually pleasant. I jog at dawn before the streets get crowded, mow my lawn in perfectly straight lines, wave once to neighbors, and keep moving. When people ask about my profession at neighborhood barbecues, I usually just say analyst and leave it at that. Trisha Mallory, on the other hand, has taken to calling me a menace with a suspicious recycling schedule on the community Facebook page. She is HOA royalty in the worst possible way. White visor, clipboard attached to her hip with a carabiner, and the kind of delusional confidence that only comes from someone who genuinely believes a neighborhood bylaw can override the United States Constitution. Trisha's campaign to turn our neighborhood into a checkpoint started small, the way these things always do. First came the passive-aggressive notes slipped under doors. All residents must display community identification at all amenities. No exceptions. Then came the official signs posted at every entrance. Checkpoint-friendly neighborhood, like we were living in some kind of gated compound in a spy novel. She formed what she called the Compliance Patrol, which was really just 3 bored retirees in matching orange sashes who wrote down the addresses of anyone who put their trash cans out 5 minutes late. They set up that card table by the community pool entrance and started logging every single license plate that entered the neighborhood, all in the name of safety. Trisha herself started stopping joggers midden to demand badge checks. She even tried to scan my pool access fob one afternoon with a phone app that looked suspiciously like the same thing the grocery store uses to scan cantaloupes. When I politely declined and kept walking, she went straight home and posted on Nextdoor under her username @Mallory_. The post said, "Be on alert," followed by a lengthy paragraph about how the new resident in the blue house refuses basic security protocols and is possibly foreign. A week later, she took a photo over my back fence of me carrying a locked Pelican case from my garage to my car. The case contained fishing lures and tackle. Her caption, "Read-upons?" ? The rest of the HOA board nodded along to everything she said, mostly because she bakes excellent lemon bars for meetings and mispronounces jurisdiction with so much confidence that nobody wants to be the one to correct her. Saturday morning arrived, and I decided to take my niece to the community pool for a few hours. We walked up to the gate, and there it was. The card table, the orange sash, the demand delivered in that cheerful, non-negotiable tone. IDs, please. I would normally just keep my real credentials tucked in my wallet and show her my driver's license, like everyone else. But enough is a policy decision, too. And I had reached my limit. I flashed the badge quick and professional, the way I was trained. She leaned in closer, then grabbed my wrist to get a better look. I pivoted back smoothly and calmly, putting space between us. She snapped a photo anyway with her phone, and what happened next was her absolute masterpiece of incompetence. She emailed that photo, along with a bullet-pointed dossier about my, quote, suspicious behavior, unquote, to 3 separate places. First, our local police department tip line. Second, the entire HOA listserv with 200 homes on it. And third, a random Department of Agriculture email address she found by Googling Federal Contact Terrorist Gardens. I am not making that up. But she didn't stop there. She also stopped our mail carrier in the middle of his route and demanded to see his identification, writing down his route number in her little notebook and threatening to confiscate suspicious parcels. The mail carrier radioed the postal inspector faster than you can say federal offense. Within an hour, a Riverside Valley Police Department cruiser, a postal inspector sedan, and the county attorney's silver Camry were all parked by the pool cabana. Tricia stood there smiling like she had just caught a fugitive. The trap snapped shut, but not on me. The Riverside Valley Police verified my credentials through a federal liaison office. And let me just say, the conversation became very short and extremely polite after that phone call. The postal inspector interviewed the mail carrier, who gave a detailed account of being detained and interrogated. Then the inspector pulled up Tricia's live stream, the one where she proudly described interrogating a federal employee and documenting packages for evidence. The county attorney unfolded a copy of Hawthorne Crest's actual HOA bylaws next to a printed copy of the state statute on impersonating law enforcement officials. They took a long look at Tricia's compliance patrol armbands, which were embroidered with the word civil security in large block letters. They examined her printed citation books, which had fines listed at the bottom with payment instructions directing people to her personal Venmo account. The HOA treasurer, a mild-mannered accountant named Greg, quietly backed away from Tricia, like someone who just realized the lemonade might have bleach in it. The emergency special meeting in the clubhouse was standing room only. Every homeowner in Hawthorne Crest showed up, and they brought popcorn. Exhibit A was Tricia's own live stream showing her screaming about my fake badge, immediately followed by the police chief's calm statement that it was absolutely not fake. Exhibit B consisted of screenshots from her checkpoint spreadsheets, where she had been logging license plates, children's names, pool entry times, and visitor information without any legal authority. The spreadsheets included notes like suspicious jogging pattern and possible encoded messages on recycling bins. Exhibit C was the postal inspector, who explained in the patient tone of someone addressing a kindergarten class that obstructing a mail carrier is a federal crime. He held up printed screenshots of her social media posts where she bragged about her mail surveillance operation. Exhibit D was an invoice showing that Tricia had used HOA funds to purchase tactical strobe lights for golf carts and something labeled detainment cuffs, which turned out to be pink and fuzzy. The room practically hummed with suppressed laughter. Someone in the back row whispered that they always knew she was crazy, and 3 people shushed them while nodding in agreement. The board voted 6-1 to remove her from the presidency, effective immediately. The single no vote came from Trisha herself, who kept her hand raised in protest until someone threatened to turn off the lights. Then the city attorney served her with citations for filing false reports, attempted unlawful detainment, and running an unlicensed data registry. The postal inspector added a federal charge for interfering with mail delivery. My attorney slid a restraining order across the table like he was presenting a dessert menu. Sentencing day arrived 3 months later. Trisha stood in front of the judge, wearing a blazer that looked like it cost more than my monthly mortgage. The judge handed down 18 months probation, a fine of $15,000, full restitution to the HOA for what the prosecutor called security theater expenses, a ban on holding any HOA position in the county for 5 years, mandatory privacy law training, and 200 hours of community service at the DMV lost and found. The judge specifically noted that she was not allowed to bring a clipboard. Trisha's face went from confident to pale to red in stages like a time-lapse of a sunset. She opened her mouth twice, but nothing came out. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder and whispered something that made her sit down hard in her chair. Outside the courthouse, she walked past me without making eye contact, climbed into her car, and drove away, still wearing that expensive blazer and the weight of every single consequence she had earned.